Hello and welcome Inside the Void with me, Spacey Ghost, and this week is all about Dragon Age, a video game series very close to my heart, and helping me is a special guest. Please introduce yourself, pronouns, all that good stuff.
Hi, I'm Becky. My YouTube account is BioWoman. She, her pronouns for me.
Dragon Age is a dark fantasy role-playing game created by BioWare, the developers behind Mass Effect. Or, as others have called it, Asurect, the space dating sim, where you fight literal demons corrupting the land, figurative demons oppressing mage and elf kind alike, and romance the hell out of every beating heart you come within 15 feet of. There are 3 games in the series so far, with very important DLC sprinkled in between. For those who haven't played the games before, be warned. We go pretty deep into things this episode, so unless you don't care about spoilers, I'm sorry, friends. This is your last chance before... Oh shit, the spoiler police are already here. Back to the show! So, should we just go with, how we each discovered the series, or which one we played first?
Yeah, well, which one did you go first with when you discovered it?
I just went right away with Origins.
I ended up with Inquisition right away, and then I didn't realise that it was part of a series until I looked up into it. So going from Inquisition all the way back to Origins was definitely a trip.
Yeah, I bet it was. For me, I knew about all 3 of the games, but I didn't know which order they were. I thought Inquisition was first, and Origins was, last.
Yeah.
For some reason.
I mean, it could have worked. I mean, if it's anything like Kingdom Hearts, it could go in any and every order.
Yeah, I was thinking, it's called Origins. It must be a prequel, sequel thing. But no.
And then you started and realised, probably not. The games are really interesting, especially when you've got extra content like the comics and the books as well to just add to the lore of everything.
Yeah, I love and hate how you have to, actually buy DLC and that DLC matters, and then the comics matter. I mean, it's cool, it's neat.
I get what you're saying, because for some content you could probably get away with not including, but to a certain extent it's always going to be important, especially the content that's in Inquisition that leads up to the events of what we presume is going to be a 4th game if BioWare announces it.
I still seriously need to get on that, but I do not have, extra $15 to my name.
I'm trying to recall if there were any DLC that didn't actually end up being integral to the game's lore or character lore, and I think the only one that wasn't really that important was probably Sebastian in Dragon Age 2.
Yeah, I didn't mess with Sebastian. I didn't even know he existed until I started, looking extra stuff up, and I'm like, oh, there was a bonus companion. Well then.
Yeah, the potential was definitely there. You had the idea of someone who now had to take over the throne after his relatives had been assassinated, I believe was the plot. But then he doesn't actually want to do anything for his kingdom, and he just wants to stay in the chantry that he was abandoned at when he was younger, and it's okay then.
Oh wow.
The character was very much a miss for me.
He's the complete opposite of how I roleplayed my Inquisitor, no joke.
It is interesting though that he does appear again in the comics in Knight Errant, the most recent comic series.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's during the events just after Inquisition, I would say, yeah. And, yeah, probably. Yeah, just after Inquisition. And it ends up focusing on this young elven woman who assists one of the knights, and they get invited to Sebastian's kingdom. And he's going around playing the part of the good, nice prince who's definitely not want any harm coming to anyone, but he's only there for a couple of frames in the comic, and Varric is there for almost most of it.
I mean, of course, what is the comics without Varric?
Exactly. He's the one documenting all of this, after all.
Mm-hmm. I really do like the sort of theory people have with Dragon Age 2 that, the whole reason everything's so, exaggerated and full of plot holes is because Varric is just making shit up as he's going.
Literally. Because I was very confused when it looked like the dragon had killed the protagonist 5 minutes into the game and then revealed that it was just Varric making things up.
Yeah, like when I started playing Dragon Age 2, I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even make my character yet. What?
Didn't even make your character and they're already dead. By Flemeth, of all people.
Mm-hmm.
I do greatly appreciate, though, how good and bad is never wholly so obvious in the games with the whole Mage and Templar debate that's going on.
Yeah, I love how, like, realistic they make that sort of conflict.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because you get the impression with some of the quests in Origins where you do actually finally get to, well, I say finally, it is the first game, but you do get to go into the Circle of Magi and actually see some of the treatments of the mages and actually hear about it from their point of view. So in that instance, it almost makes you want to just completely side with the mages, completely go against the Templars. And then the second game, even though you have a sibling that is a mage, the second game tries to completely flip it on its head and make you feel like the mages are the enemies and the Templars are the bad guys. And then it comes right into almost like a political side of it where you've got to decide for yourself. But it's not quite simple either way.
Yeah, like there's no right or wrong answer.
Except Anders, he's a wrong answer.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people that's mad about that, but...
Like, when I played Dragon Age 2, like, my character, my Hawk, he completely sided with mages the entire time until the thing with Anders towards the end.
Yeah!
That was, like, the sole decision I had. Like, okay, I feel bad, but I'm just gonna side with the Templars just to, like, try and get you to cool your shit.
Yeah, and even if you turn him down for that moment, let's say, of rebellion, he still goes and does it anyway, so it makes you wonder why he even asked for your help.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's interesting the way it's done, because you can understand where both sides of the coin are coming from. There are Templars that do genuinely just want to protect people and are there to actually, you know, help the mages, but also make sure there's peace. So the best example for that I could probably think of would be, oh, what's her name from the Asunder book? It was the Templar woman that Cole was friends with.
Oh man, I forgot her name.
I'm going to grab my book.
Okay, you grab your book.
This is going to be a long pause.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll fix it in post.
I found the page in the book. It is Evangeline.
Yeah, I just got to, like, the cast of, like, everyone in that. But okay, Evangeline.
Yes, so Evangeline is probably a good example because she's the one who acknowledges that the mages can cause harm, whether they do it intentionally, Anders, or whether it's something unintentional, where they have a moment of weakness and they're possessed by a spirit. But then, at the same time, she also does acknowledge that it's not completely black and white. She even points out the hypocrisy in the Templars using phylacteries as blood magic, even though it's something they preach against. But then you've got some mages that, you know, do understand that things aren't, you know, exactly perfect and do try and fix it. You know, was it Orsino in Dragon Age 2 would have been a really good example of that had he not changed at the end.
Man, I'm still salty about, like, the end of 2, how no matter what, the mages just turn to, like, demonic stuff. I forgot the actual term for it, I'm sorry.
No, that is very frustrating as well. It's funny, though, how the fan base is very for the mages, but are also very suspicious each game of the mages.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be fair, Morrigan kind of gave what you got. You know, she said she was going to leave the party after the Blight had ended, so that wasn't too bad. But then you've got Dragon Age 2 and, well, Anders.
Anders is just a whole nother story.
Yeah, and then you have, obviously, Solus in position. Spoiler alert. What do you think on how Anders and Justice changed from Origins to, well, from Awakening, I suppose, to Dragon Age 2?
It was really interesting. It was something I don't think I've seen in a video game, like, happen before.
Mm.
The thing is, like, this is, you're gonna laugh, but when I originally played Awakening, and I met Anders, I let him leave, thinking he was gonna come back.
Oh right, okay.
But then he never came back to my party.
Mm-hmm.
So the real, like, first impressions I got of him was after him and Justice, like, fused. After I played Dragon Age 2, I watched my boyfriend at the time play Awakening.
Right.
And then I got to see, like, the whole Justice and Anders thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of backwards for me.
Honestly, I was surprised playing Awakening that people weren't catching on as to the risks of having Anders share the body with a spirit of virtue such as that.
Like, I kind of get the idea. Like, I get that he was trying to do a good thing, but just a spirit as pure as that, there's obviously gonna be some major changes.
Exactly. And this is the sort of thing that Cole was saying as well in Inquisition. If he got bound to the soul of another person, or similarly to what happened to Solus's friend Wisdom, they get attached or they get connected in some way to a person from the real world. People aren't wholly virtuous, no matter how kind they may be. So if you're going to take a person with many different complexities and many different viewpoints and opinions and then connect them with a wholly virtuous entity, it's not going to go down very well because it's going to go against its nature.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, with Dragon Age 2, like, I think it's already, like, too late.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many times we tried, like, saving Anders or trying to convince him wrong. Like, by the time he and Justice fused in Awakening, pretty much the course was set from there for just utter destruction.
Yeah, exactly. And then the debate obviously comes in. Who is responsible for Anders' actions in Dragon Age 2? Is it Anders himself, or is it Justice? Because I believe I haven't particularly pursued the romance path with Anders, mainly because I don't very much like him. But from what I've seen, it seems like if you go down the romance path with Anders, he will begin to talk to you about his plans, and you have the opportunity to dissuade any instance in which he actually wants to act on them, and he becomes convinced that he maybe shouldn't do it. But in that instant, Justice takes over his body and convinces him to do it again.
Yeah, I never romanced him for those, like, same reasons, but my ex was all over Anders for whatever reason. I don't know. So I get to see all that play out. And then once Justice took over for, like, I guess the final time, I was like, dude, are you sure you don't want to rethink your decision? I mean, there's so many other romanceable options, and you choose this fuck.
Rethink your life, rethink your choices. Although, it does make you wonder then, if there are different spirits beyond the Fade, such as Cole was the spirit of compassion, there was Solus's friend of wisdom, then there was obviously Justice. If there is multiple of the same variety of spirit, all with their own consciousness, because Cole Cole has the opportunity to be made more like a human. Solus has said in Inquisition that when a spirit dies, it's not technically a death because they're recreated again as something else with a new memory. So in essence, they're not really the same anymore. So would a new spirit be created to replace the ones that have been attached to the real world? So Justice could have been killed alongside Anders if you chose to execute him. When Cole came down and became more human, is there another spirit of compassion up there to take his place? I wonder how it works.
Yeah, me too. I mean, in my opinion, I would like to say that that would be true, that another instance would be made. But that's just me. I don't know anything about, like, how they do lore in the universe.
What about Sandal?
Ooh, I forgot about Sandal.
There's a lot of fun theories about Sandal. My favourite theory is that people think he's the Maker.
Really?
Have you not heard of this theory?
No, I haven't.
Would you like to?
Yes, please enlighten me, because Sandal's, like, one of my favorite NPCs, and I can't believe I forgot all about him.
Well, the reason why people seem to think that Sandal is definitely part of a bigger picture that no one can see yet is because if you actually look at some of the things that he does and some of the moments, the rare moments where he doesn't actually say his, typical word of enchantment that he repeats, there are moments where it seems like he knows more than he should or he has a power that he shouldn't have. So, going back, if you just look at the way he handles large groups of enemies, there are instances where he's taken down enemies with nothing on him. There was a moment, I believe it was in Dragon Age 2, when they all went on an expedition and Sandal had gotten separated from his adopted father. And when that happened, you went into the room and you saw all of these giant monsters that were bigger than both of you, and they'd all been frozen or they were knocked down or they were dead or something like that. And Sandal was the only one in the room and he was covered in blood. And when you approached him and asked what happened, all he said was not enchantment. And then he left the room. And he had no weapons on him. And we already know that dwarves don't have magic, so there are no dwarven mages. But a lot of people seem to think maybe that instance of power came from the Descent DLC, the information we got in there, where he was connected with the soul of a titan, and that's what probably gave him the power. But there are other instances where he knows things that even a titan wouldn't have been able to convey to him. So in Dragon Age 2 again, Sandal lives in your mansion when you get a mansion in the game. And if you go and talk to him, he'll say the typical enchantment over and over again. But if you find the right moment and you stop and talk to him, Sandal actually prophesizes the events of Inquisition.
Oh my gosh.
He starts talking. There's a whole monologue of it that you could find online, but he starts talking about how the sky will part and talking about the gods, and he makes it ambiguous by saying that he will rise, and it's unclear whether or not that's Solus or whether it's Corypheus. But he prophesizes all of that, and when his adopted father points it out that he's acting strange, he almost like he's trying to cover something up, he just goes, enchantment? And everybody shrugs it off.
Man, hearing you talk about that, I remember running into that dialogue and I thought, like, nothing of it. I just thought he was being creepy. I didn't even connect it to Inquisition.
There is a codex. It's not spoilery or anything, but there is a codex. You will find it in Trespasser, but it doesn't spoil the events of Trespasser. But you find a codex, and it looks like Sandal's diary, and it says it's written by him, obviously, and it's got different years. All the entries just say enchantment over and over again in different forms, in questions, in exclamations, things like that. Now, the diary itself isn't actually weird, but where you find the diary is what's really strange. Because we already know that the Inquisitor has the ability to open the rifts and cross through the veil to the Fade.
Yeah.
A particular moment in Trespasser, you'll go through the crossroads, which is something that Morrigan already introduced to us anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But the understanding is that you are in a part of the Fade at that point. And that's where you find it. You find the journal on a table that's part of a memory that's hidden around the back of somewhere you've come out of. So it wasn't meant to be found easy. It was hidden there on purpose.
Oh.
But nobody knows how or why Sandal's diary entry would be there. And that's a part of the reason why people seem to think he's something to do with the gods that Solus sealed away.
Ooh, probably.
Mm-hmm. It also makes sense as well with him being maybe related to one of the Titans, because when in Origins, when it's asked where Sandal came from, all that you really get told by his adopted father is that he was found in deep parts of the underground in the tunnels, where usually only the Legion of the Dead would go. And it just makes you wonder, because apart from the Inquisitor and the Legion of the Dead, no one's ever gone as deep enough as to find the heart of the Titan as you did in the Descent DLC, which is years later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's curious.
Oh, man. I just headcanon that maybe, like, Sandal was like another spirit, like Cole or something. I didn't even think of like going as far as to thinking he would be like the freaking Maker or something.
The Maker may be an exaggeration, but I do like the idea that he's one of the spirits and that he's chosen to remain down on Earth for some reason.
It would still be pretty like messed up to think, oh, I actually met the Maker from the very beginning.
I let him stay in my home with me, and he still didn't save my mother and siblings.
Man, Sandal, where were you?
He should have really been in Inquisition. It would have been interesting to see what sort of... Oh, it would have been interesting to see if Cole could have read Sandal's mind and tell us what he's thinking.
Yeah, right? Or... maybe they intentionally left him out of Inquisition because of, like, Solus being there, too.
That's definitely what I thought, because it was definitely obvious when Sandal wasn't in Inquisition, when he was a defining role in the first two games. Not necessarily as a main character, but a character that you needed to know, that you needed to be there and aware of.
Yeah, like he played a pretty significant role, even if it was a minor one.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily that we don't have enchantment or rune crafting in the game, because we do, but we have Dagna from all the way back from Origins now doing that role instead of him.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to wonder, though, what happens if you have a world state in which you don't help Dagna get to the surface and study magic.
That is a good question, because I've only seen it in world states where you did recruit her, because why wouldn't you? She's adorable.
It's probably going to be something akin to what happened with Liliana if you chose to kill her in Origins, yet she still shows up in Inquisition. There was a theory I heard about that, but I'm not really sure I believe it.
Oh, what was it?
Because she's... people are saying that Liliana that we see in the future games after Origins, if you killed her in your playthrough, there are people saying that she's not actually real, she's a lyrium ghost. And no. I don't believe that. Because to be fair, she did talk about what happened. She said that that because she died so close to the ashes of Andraste, which are said to cure anything, that brought her back to life.
That's kind of, like, sketchy, too, but yeah. I wouldn't go as far as to call her lyrium
No, I
ghost.
wouldn't either. Also, lyrium had nothing to do with it. There was no lyrium up there in the temple when we found the ashes.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that would work.
I know it's necessary, but to be honest, I don't really like the characterization of Liliana as time passes.
See, that's the thing actually I really do like about.
I mean, I like it, but, like, I don't like it because it's hard to explain.
I miss my happy Liliana, though. I do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite telling, though, how when you talk to her in Origins and she will tell you about a million different stories and folk tales and stuff, and you ask her in Inquisition and she's like, we have a library, go read a book.
Mm-hmm. It's like, whoa, fine, take it easy.
Okay, Miss Spymaster, all right. I do like it because there's a lot of things to consider. I mean, with Origins, we did have the DLC where you got to see where she was before she ended up as a sister in the Chantry.
Yeah.
And for the whole first game, we had her, like, very sweet, very loving, but also being able to kick butt, you know, which was which was good. And then you got to see that steadily progress over time. So when she shows up, I believe, in a DLC for Dragon Age 2, just popping in because she's investigating. And when she comes, she's not too different from who she was in the first one, but you can see there's a little difference. She's only in it very briefly, so it's not really a lot to make a judgment of. But when she shows up in Inquisition, I do like the idea that she's become very hardened because she's had to be in the role that she's been given, and given all her past and everything, and how she's had to be separated from everyone. It definitely does make sense. Maybe she was more hardened than I expected her to be, and in which case I'm surprised that making one choice towards the beginning of the game can change whether or not she's sunflowers and rainbows or murder and death, you know.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Because it's like if you made the wrong choice at the beginning, or if you didn't even speak to her in the beginning and you completely forgot, or you didn't know where she was, she's suddenly, you can't go back. She's going to be angry the whole time. She's going to be happy the whole time. But she actually is all right in the again not a spoiler, but she is not really having much of an attitude change in Trespasser, regardless of what you do. I mean, obviously, the ending sequence of the main game in Inquisition, if you put a hardened Liliana on the Sunburst throne, that's not going to go well.
No. I actually did in my playthrough.
Oh, you put a hardened Liliana on the Sunburst throne?
I mean, it wasn't too bad. It's just, it kind of alluded that not much good would come of it.
Yeah.
But then again, the way I played my Inquisitor, he didn't like the Chantry anyways, so he didn't care.
I remember with at the Winter Palace, where you had to choose who would be in power out of the 3 options you were given. What's your, like, preferred method to do it? Like, the one that you usually go with the most, if you have one?
Hold on, it's been a while. Although I did really love that mission. Like, the whole ball sequence.
I liked it as well. I liked the sneaking around.
Yeah, because with my Inquisitor, he was a little shit, but in front of royalty, he was, like, such a smooth talker. So I got, like, all of the 100 points, whatever you call it, with that. And when it came down to... I know I made one of them a court gesture for my judgment.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember her name now. It was the Duchess.
I think my preferred thing is having Celine, is that her name?
Empress Celine, yeah.
Yeah, I had her rule by herself.
I tended to, because I tried every different option to see what would happen. And I ended up, so there is like an option that most people go for, which is where you can blackmail all of them and basically make them work together under your orders. But looking back at everything, I was like, perhaps that wasn't a good idea, because Empress Celine is no innocent bunny. And she
No.
lets all of the whole culture, basically, of All A, which is just, you can murder people as long as you don't let anyone know about it when you're at a ball, basically. She just lets it happen because it's part of All A to her and she's not going to change it. But that also means that she's rather sinister herself. So what I ended up doing was I always get the blackmail for all of them, all the blackmail material, just so I can have more options. But I believe what I did was I let this is going to be controversial. I let the Duchess kill Celine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I let the Duchess kill Celine. And then what I ended up doing was I went out, and obviously you had to kill the Duchess at that point. Well, you can either go and yeah. So I let the Duchess kill Celine, and then we killed the Duchess. And then at that instance, that meant that we had Ambassador Briala left and Duke Gaspard. And what I did with them is, out of the two of them, only one of them technically can go on the throne because they're not put an elf on the All A throne. Yeah. So Gaspard went on the throne as the emperor, but he has no control over what he does because I gave the control to Briala.
Oh, nice.
So what happened is she had all the blackmail material against him, and I didn't give him any blackmail material for Briala. So what ended up happening was when Briala wanted to put something into effect, Gaspard would do it, and Gaspard couldn't do anything she didn't approve of, which meant that he couldn't solve things by force. He couldn't go and start wars that she didn't consent to because that's what he wanted to do. And Briala was doing things like liberating the elves from the alienages all over Thedas and creating more opportunities, which was definitely good. I mean, the fact that Celine was there meant that no one was trying to continue the whole backstabbing aspect that was always so prominent in the balls. And again, because Briala was in control, I mean, none of them are innocent at all. Such as politics, no one's innocent. But she was the one that was actually liberating the elves and doing something and stopping the mistreatment of them, which no one else was going to do. And at least she's not starting her own wars like Gaspard wanted.
That is a really good way to go.
I like, that's my preferred one, but I've tried all of them. Have you not tried to kill Celine then?
No, because
it sounds like an evil thing to do, doesn't it, to kill the Empress?
Trust me, I thought of it. I just was like, okay, I know my person's a shit, but I don't know if he's that big of a shit.
Yeah. And it's also very satisfying to just confront the Duchess in front of everyone. Mm-hmm. Be like, smile, we've got an audience. And she's like, crap.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always fun. And you made her a court gesture.
Yes.
One of the options that that's made available as well, apparently, if you defeat the Duchess, is you still have to judge her, but she's already passed. So again, I've done this once or twice this playthrough, but I kind of just barreled through some of the major decisions, not the major decisions, but the decisions where you have to convict the people that you've just battled in Sara. So I just kind of barreled through because I thought I remembered the people, and so I just picked the options that I remember usually picking, and then all of a sudden they brought me a box and said her ashes were in it, and they were like we need you to judge her, and I'm just like, we already killed the Duchess, can't we just leave it at that? And the options were insane. One of the options was I sentenced her to be a side table in the main room. And it's like, what is...
It's like bad ashes, bad.
I would have loved an option just to say, are you serious? Just, we've dealt with it. You can't deal with it any more than that now.
When I replay Inquisition, I'm gonna figure out how to do that. Like, get to that point. Just so I can witness it with my own two eyes. Like, seriously, it's freaking ashes.
Oh, dear.
Ooh. This might be jumping ahead a bit, but what do you think about Morrigan's role with the Alluvian in Inquisition?
A lot, because it all comes from Trespasser, but you've not played it. So, a lot comes to mind. More than what's in the main game, but I can't say it.
God.
So...
Okay.
Good question, though.
I do have a very strong opinion, and I don't know if, like...
Well, tell me what it is. I won't tell you if you're right. I won't spoil it.
When it comes to, like, Morrigan,
Mm-hmm.
I understand the whole thing with, like, her kid going on, and her and Flemeth. I understand that's all important.
Yeah.
But I feel like when it comes to the Alluvian stuff, it would have been so much better if Meryl was the one involved in that and not
Oh,
Morgan.
God, no. You wanna put Meryl in charge of that?
Well,
I mean,
like,
we would end up slaughtering everyone in the Inquisition, but...
I know it's bad, but I feel like she had more to do with that kind of stuff than Morgan did.
There is a lot of, like, annoyance that, you know, Morrigan, who's a human character, is so informed on elven artifacts, especially if you are an elven character and she just talks at you. I do see what you're coming from. I think Meryl is too dangerous for the Inquisition, and I think that's probably why Varric didn't message her. Where is she anyway in the events of Inquisition? He did say where everybody was. I think Fenris was freeing slaves in Kirkwall still, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Anders was dead because I killed him.
Same.
Sebastian, either or, depending on what you chose to do with him.
Yeah, Sebastian didn't exist for me.
Yeah, so Sebastian basically didn't exist. And then, where was Meryl? What was Meryl doing? I totally forgot. Because if she massacred her entire clan, like she ended up doing in a certain playthrough in Dragon Age 2, because of the mirror.
I'm looking it up just in case, but for me, when it came to that part, like, I literally backtracked every time I made a wrong decision because I didn't want to kill her clan or anything.
That's the clan from, that's the Warden Elven's clan in Origins as well, isn't it?
Yep, it is.
Oh, she had a personality shift from Origins to Dragon Age 2. In the first one, she was all proper and polite, and then all of a sudden in Dragon Age 2, she's cowering in the corner with a piece of a broken mirror, talking about how this is the most important thing in her entire life and going against the Keeper.
Okay, it says that she's busy rebuilding her clan or something to that extent.
So she can kill them again. That choice shook me when I was playing Dragon Age 2, because I thought, oh, you know, if you help out all your companions, good things will happen. So I thought, oh, maybe, you know, Meryl's being misunderstood, maybe the Keeper's overprotective, and then we went from helping Meryl to massacring the whole clan because she messed up and the clan attacked.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't sign up for this. Meryl, what the fuck?
Second playthrough round, just Meryl and Anders did not like me.
No. Like, I felt so bad because I wanted to support Meryl, but at the same time with my Hawk, I like immediately shut her down whenever it came to that kind of stuff. Well,
there's a lot of things with going back to Anders that just I don't like. I mean, obviously, you know, people are definitely entitled to still like the character. I have no qualms against it, and I can totally see some likable points in him as well, which is what some people are probably drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is I can't actually, like, the arguments tend to be, you know, he's a good person. He got pushed too far, and then, oopsie doopsie, we've got a spirit in him as well. That's part of the problem. But there's instances where he really is just a cruel person, and it has nothing to do with justice being a part of him. So, like, in the second game, obviously, the first bit of companion party banter that I ever was exposed to with Anders was when I had him and Aveline in my party. And when I did have them in my party, Anders started asking questions about Aveline's husband, who we already know has died at this point.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but keep going.
Yeah, and he just started asking her very intrusive questions about him and just completely being very inappropriate about their relationship and making both of them akin to the other people out there who go completely against the mages. And it's just the things that he says to her about her deceased partner are really diabolical, and he has no right to say anything like that, especially because he doesn't even know him. He's been dead for like a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't remember actually how long it's been, but he's been dead for a long time, and then Anders just reopens old wounds because he knows about that. But Aveline's actually very kind to mages, so she didn't even deserve that treatment either. And then the famous instance of when Daenerys shows up, which is Fenris's master.
Yeah.
And he comes back because, for anyone who's listening who's not completely aware, Fenris is Daenerys' slave from Teventa, and he's been with him for a long time. The mistreatment is absolutely astonishing, and obviously you're going to want to protect him, but there are some dialogue for players that do want to just be completely evil and hand him right back to his master. And if you do this, every companion, even the ones that don't get along with Fenris at all, will all object and say that it's unforgivable, that you can't do something like that. Anders is the only companion who actually agrees with the idea and actually seems relieved at the idea of sending him back.
I mean, unlike Anders, they all have a set of morals, so...
True. But that's the thing. I mean, this shift in his attitude can't have anything to do with the spirit this time. Because, yeah, now we know that the spirit has been warped and turned into vengeance instead of justice. The thing is that even if Anders and Fenris don't agree and aren't on the same page, slavery is something that's completely unjust, and then Anders is there being all for it just because he doesn't like someone.
Mm-hmm.
Which is entirely insane, especially because if you actually listen to some of the conversations between Fenris and Anders, I don't agree with Fenris at all that, we should completely side with the Templars. But you have to acknowledge what he's been through at the hands of mages in the games. But the fact is that he's still open-minded enough to apologize when he's made a mistake. And all he's pointing out is that there are risks there and you need to put some preventive measures in place. He's not saying that people need to be arrested and detained, and he's not saying all mages are bad, because he's acknowledged that you're not a bad person if you're a mage.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't have anything against Bethany, if you so happen to take her. And he even sides with the mages if you talk to him and you befriend him enough. So it's not like he's completely dead set against mages and mage rights or anything like that. So Anders' response is just completely out of order.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some banter with Anders and Fenris, correct me if I'm wrong, where, like, Fenris would say something, and then Anders would take it in, like, a completely antagonistic, like, sort of nature.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, calm down.
He does that with almost anyone, really. It's interesting as well how very early on in the game, if you take Anders and Varric around, they'll banter and they'll be friends and they'll have jokes. But as we know in the game, it skips ahead and like about 3 years or so at a time.
Yeah, it does.
In between each act. So you've got him there with Varric joking, laughing and having fun. And then as the acts and years go by, you start to notice, if you continue to take them around, that Varric's still trying to get jokes out of Anders, and Anders isn't having any of it. He's just getting exceedingly more bitter, angrier, and pretty much he's just not even who he was in Awakening anymore. He's just a completely different person. Person who I don't like.
Me neither. I'm glad we agree with that. I'm sorry anyone listening to this who's like in love with Anders.
Yeah, again, like I've said, just our opinions, and I can totally see why people would like the character. He does have some redeeming qualities, but opinions are going to be opinions.
Yeah. Especially Anders towards the beginning of Awakening, like that he's pretty cool.
He's pretty chill, very funny.
Yeah.
Although I am confused about his cat, because he has a different name for the cat in Awakening than he does in Dragon Age 2.
Does he? I thought it was the same, though. Wasn't it like Sir something?
Sir Pouncelot, he said in
Sir
Dragon
Pouncelot.
Age 2. I swear he called him something completely different when I played Awakening.
No, he was still Sir Pouncelot in Awakening.
I remember a completely different one, unless it's maybe something that I've missed. I'm going to take another awkward pause to have a quick look. Hang on. Oh, no, apparently it is Sir Pouncelot. I don't know what I was thinking of then. Maybe they were just bouncing off different names.
Maybe, probably.
Yeah, well, that's awkward. So, what do you think will happen in Dragon Age 4 if it happens? BioWare, please.
Please, BioWare, if you're listening somehow, some way. Honestly, like, I've mentioned this before, like, a lot of times, but I'm just gonna say it again in case anyone hasn't heard this from me. But I seriously believe we're gonna be into Winter, and that somehow we're going to meet up with Dorian, Fenris, and, what was the third person? There's a third person I was thinking would, like, I should say, like, callbacks from the older games. I want to say the third person I was gearing for was, like, May from the comics, but, like, I feel like there was another game character. I forgot who.
It would be interesting if we had the two protagonists in the Mage Killer comics, but they're already with the Inquisition anyway, so it's not like we would have to go traveling to another location in order to find them again.
Yeah.
But I agree. The ending scene that where the Inquisitor, there is a scene where the Inquisitor does go into the war room and stabs a dagger into the map where it says Tevinter. So I'm certain we're going to be going to Tevinter. It'll be good because we've not been there yet. We've only seen it in the comics, and even then only very briefly. But I'm certain that Dorian's going to be there as a Magister at this point. It'd be interesting to see, though, if we did get some of the companions back again from the previous games to go up against Solus. But I think the problem with that is the problem that BioWare addressed when people wanted to know if we would ever get the Warden back, is saying that there are too many different opportunities where your companions can be killed, and too many branching paths to incorporate them as canonically still alive in the way that they did with Liliana.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Liliana was a very integral character to Inquisition, but obviously some people had killed her in Origins, but she needed to be there, so they came up with a reason. But that would be even harder if you tried to bring back the Warden, who has more personality options than Hawk does.
Mm-hmm.
And if you tried to, like some characters you can't bring back, like Wynn, she's canonically died, so you can't bring her back. Like I say, you got others. You know, you could have killed Fenris. You could have sold Fenris back to his master, which is evil. You could kill Anders. He could be on the run. You probably don't want him back anyway if he is alive to fix this situation.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
I don't know. Like, that's a good point. Like, there's a lot of branching paths, but I see that as, like, a good way. Because there's, not just Dragon Age, but with other games where, like, choices matter. Like, there's so many games where they advertise, like, oh, so many options, but really there's, like, only totally good and totally bad options. So
Mass Effect.
Yeah. What? I didn't hear you. But anyways, so I think it would be a good thing if they tried to make it where, like, there were so many branches, so many options depending on, like, what choices you made all the way back in Origins. I understand technical difficulties, but I think whenever they produce Dragon Age 4, I think most of those would be, like, done away with by then.
Yeah. I would want to bring Wynne back, but that one's impossible because she didn't die in the game, but she is dead in the series. Oh, there is one thing that I really like, and I really want them to bring back for the next game if possible.
Ooh, what?
Origins felt way more like an RPG to me than any of the other Dragon Age games, because the elements that were in it. So, first of all, I liked being able to put up my points for, survival skills, manipulation skills. I liked being able to do that because it opened way more doors for my characters at different points in the story. But the main thing I liked was the different branching openings to the game.
Yeah.
Because when I played all the games, there was a certain level of connect with the character. So in Dragon Age 2, I had a sort of connection, but with Hawk, but mainly just because I still had his family members around. So it was like the characters to deeply care about was Hawk's family and not want anything bad to happen to them. And, look where that ended up. But and then in Inquisition, all I had was a bit of text at the beginning telling me about my backstory. And then, letters from my characters, relatives, friends, whatever. So with my character in Inquisition, didn't really feel as close to, didn't really feel as connected to. But in Origins, because there were so many different, spoiler origins, I felt more connected. Like when I was playing as a human noble, for example, and I was playing through the game after what happened to my in-game family, I was like, oh, I really hope I can meet this character again so I could get revenge, and bumped into him and I got it, and I felt very satisfied. I felt very connected to the character. It actually made me care even more about her revenge. And also I like how the different openings drastically can change your opinions on what to do in the main story. For example, in the origin story for an elf who lives in the Alien Age, I wanted to get revenge on the man that took the women. And depending on what it was, because you could either get him there, kill him there, and be in trouble, but you're going to get in trouble anyway, so you could kill him there, or you could, get them all out and try and leave him alive or whatever. But I tend to kill him in that playthrough. But then if I go away and I play as another character from another origin, the interesting thing is it doesn't mean that your character has completely disappeared. So, say if you played an Alien Age elven character, if you're no longer playing that route, and say you're playing as a human or something, that character that would have existed at the wedding in that origin story, that character still exists, but it's believed that that character dies instead of continuing on.
Yeah, I really love how they handled that.
Yeah, so it's like when you're doing any other origin other than that one, you go through one of the castles and you find that man locked up. But having not done the Elven origin story, you won't know who this guy is, so you'll think, oh, he was wrongfully put in here. I'll go get the key and I'll let this guy out.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll let him out. But when you've played the Elven origin story and you go back as someone else and you recognize who it is, you don't want to help him. You want to kill him.
Yeah.
And that changes things.
Yeah, like, in Redcliffe with the mage, I forget his name, the mage that, tries helping you with the son that's possessed.
The kid, the little boy at Redcliffe Castle.
Yeah, him.
Connor.
Yeah, there's Connor, but there's also a mage that, you only meet there and also in the mage backstory.
Oh, I know who you mean. I don't know who it is, though.
Hold on, I'm looking it up. But yeah, like, I didn't play as a mage. I played as a human warrior, so I see this guy, and he's willing to help us out with Connor's business, and I'm like, oh yeah, I trust him. But my boyfriend...
Yeah.
Yeah, my boyfriend at the time, who was playing as a mage, he was freaking out, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you... He's a cool guy, and my boyfriend's just like, no.
He's a blood mage.
Yeah, you don't want him.
He's the reason why the circle is in disarray right now.
Oh, Jawan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's him.
That's his name. And once I, saw the mage backstory, I was like, oh you are right. What did I do?
I think my favourite instance of those sort of situations happening is the conflict you then have when you go to Orzammar and you need to select a king.
Yes.
Because if you went in and you played a noble dwarf in that, then you'll know that... So what were both their names again? The kings.
Behelen is one of them, and then I'm looking for the other one.
Harrowmount, that's it.
Harrowmount. Okay, thank you.
I just remembered it then. No, yeah, so you've got those two, and the thing is Harrowmount is the one that most people would initially think to go for because he's the kindest and he wants to help, and in the dwarf noble origin story, he's the one that, tries to help you, and he's the one that gets you out of there and knows that you're not the one that killed your family. So you want him to be the one on the throne, but really, it's probably not a good idea for him to be on the throne because he's not got a lot of experience. He's not doing it very well. And all he's about, really, is keeping the dwarfs underground, not letting them branch out, not letting them go to the surface without losing everything underground and not being allowed to come back. So that's the problem, because then you think, well, the only other option is the traitor brother that framed you, that killed his family. And he's aggressive, and the first thing he does when he becomes king is kill Harrowmount for going against him. And like I say, he is aggressive, but what he ends up doing is he opens up a lot of good trading channels, and he allows the dwarfs to go on the surface to work without losing anything that they have underground. So really, he's bettering things in a problematic way, whereas Harrowmount is taking it too safe, not doing anything good, really, and holding everyone back in an oppressive society that they've created. So neither of them are desirable, but in those situations, you might change your mind on who you want to be the king based on whatever your story was.
But Helen, he reminded me a lot of the brother in, have you ever played Fable 3?
No.
Okay. I'm not gonna go too much into spoilers, though. Basically, in the beginning of the game, you end up kicked out of your own castle by your older brother.
Oh, boy.
You see him, like, oppressing people within this kingdom, and, like, there's, like, child slavery going on and stuff.
Oh, dear.
And then, yeah, it's pretty heavy stuff. And then later on, you find out that everything he's been doing, as awful as it is, has actually been for the betterment of the kingdom.
Problematic.
Yeah, pretty problematic, but still, reminds me a lot of the whole situation going on with the dwarves here.
It's like that's similar to what was going on with Logan in Origins as well, because he was doing things like that, saying he was trying to make things better. I mean, personally, I never saw him as trying to make things better, because I felt if he was really trying to make things better, then, you know, we wouldn't have seen him concealing the documents that he did from the king about other wardens coming across to help in the battle. Ended up in the king's death. And I understand he can be a party member. I've never had him in my party.
Me neither. I just had Alistair kill him, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad, the different things that can happen to Alistair if you push him the wrong way in Origins.
Yeah.
You can either have him as... It's so strikingly different. You can have him as a king. You can have him as still as a Grey Warden.
You could have him as just some drunkard in a bar somewhere, wasting his life away.
Is there one where Alistair's dead, or...?
Yeah, there's one where Alistair's dead.
Yeah. It is interesting how in Dragon Age 2 you can find him drinking in the Hanged Man pub. And, go back and get someone to fetch him and bring him home.
It just breaks me heart hearing all the different options, because I just want what's best for him.
The one with, it's similar to, like, what happens with Cullen, because, as we know, the Templars have the abilities they have because they have consumed lyrium. And that creates a problem, because while they can use that to combat against the mages, the lyrium has addictive qualities to it, so people have been comparing it to basically the game's version of drug addiction, really.
I don't see any other way to, like, view it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's basically what it is. And then you have the options of what to do, whether or not to persuade him to continue taking it because he's not performing at his best without it, or whether or not to stop him. And I've never considered allowing him to continue taking it.
No, me neither. Like, I don't care how poor his performance is. I'd rather him go without.
Yeah. So that happens. So I've never played through what happens to him if, he continues taking it. But from what I heard, he becomes like an addict and ends up homeless or something.
Aw. Poor ramen noodle boy.
Ramen noodle boy. So yeah, but it's just interesting to see how all the fates end up. One of the interesting things, because there are things in this game that, yes, there are loads of twists and turns in the games, but there are moments where you just have to sit and go, oh. And I think one of those moments for me was, this hasn't happened in my playthrough, but it's because I didn't want to be a nasty dictator inquisitor in my playthrough, so it didn't happen in mine, but I've seen it. And it's basically where if you do enough things that Cole doesn't agree with, and you get confronted by him when you eventually make it back to Skyhold, and he tells you that he doesn't like what you've been doing, and he's warned you throughout the game. He's said that he doesn't agree with what you're doing, and if you try and ask him any questions about himself like normal, he'll just say no, and he won't talk to you.
Aww.
But if you push him far enough, he's not going to have any of your excuses. And he basically just makes you forget and then leaves.
Aww.
And it's interesting because you've got this character who is literally the embodiment of virtue, since he is the spirit of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's saying things that he can't forgive you, and there's no excuses, and then just erases your memory and goes off because he knows that you're not doing any good. And it's just, your Inquisitor walks back inside and someone's like, "Are you okay? Is something wrong?" And he goes, your character will be like, "Well, I thought I was talking to someone, but I probably wasn't." And then the sad thing is no one asks about Cole again then, so it's almost like it's implied that he just wiped everyone's minds of him and just left.
Man, that's really sad. Like, imagine being that much of an asshole that even the embodiment of compassion doesn't like you.
Yeah, if the embodiment of compassion doesn't like you, think you might be doing something wrong.
Yeah, you might want to rethink your choices.
Look at your life, look at your choices. It's like when in Undertale, when you realize what EXP and love stand for, or when you realize you have to fight Sans, or when he realizes that you've killed Papyrus and you're just like, oh no.
I thought you were the comedic sidekick character. No.
That was the best thing ever, though. But that's
yeah, it was.
Way off topic into a different game.
For me, my major moment would have to be the whole thing with Fenris and Daenerys, like, given the option to take him back.
I think it's so sinister how, if you do that, first of all, it's so heartbreaking, like, how suddenly defeated the character gets and just goes along with it.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it's so distressing when you get the letter later on in the game where Daenerys pays you for it and tells you that, you know, he's not resisting this time in coming back to Vinter, but, you know, we've still added more lyrium, so we've basically erased his memory once again back to that default state that he was in. And it's like, here's your dirty money for turning over your friend.
Mm.
I would never be able to do that option, no matter how many run-throughs I tried to do. I'd never be able to do that.
Me neither. I tell myself I'm gonna change, but, like, every time I replay Dragon Age 2, I always end up romancing Fenris.
Yeah.
And I always feel, like, personally insulted whenever that option comes up. Like, no, how dare you even suggest that I would think that way?
There's something that they chose to do in Dragon Age 2 that I was honestly very surprised by, and I'm still not convinced. I don't know if it's really a mechanic I'm particularly fond of at all. And it was with the romances, because you reminded me. With the romances, the fact that you can have an actual romance, a healthy romance, or you can have what's called a rivalmance, where you hate each other, but you still in a relationship. And I find it a bit uncomfortable because it's a bit of a strange choice to do. You have the two characters that are romancing, but they absolutely hate each other.
And now, as someone who's a big Homestuck fan,
right?
Someone who's read, like, all of the X and stuff, I'm used to that sort of thing.
Right.
So to me, it didn't come off as that big of a surprise.
Right.
But I don't really see a point of romancing someone just to, like, have them utterly hate you.
Yeah. Just like, "Hi, honey, I'm home. Good, I hate you, now leave."
I mean, I guess it opens up interesting dialogue options, but none I would really want to, like, explore on my own.
I mean, probably, like, in the same way that some games, when you choose, like, more heartless options, you get more information about things that you wouldn't before. Maybe in that context. I'm not sure. I haven't really played through them myself, so I'm not sure how much is different.
Yeah, me neither.
But I mainly just found it strange as well, just because with the way that the games were going at the time, it was just a bit of a confusing mechanic. I don't really know why it was there.
I don't know. Maybe they're just, like, trying something new, like, trying something out. It seemed like a lot of Dragon Age 2 was just them trying a whole bunch of new stuff out, and then going back on that when Inquisition happened.
Yeah, Dragon Age 2 is one of those where it was like, let's take our feedback and see what we can do with it.
To be honest, one thing I wish they brought back in Inquisition was how fast the combat was. Just comparing, like, Origins and Inquisition, their combat, like, to 2, to me, it feels drastically different. Like, in 2, it felt like I was, like, zooming past, like, all the enemies, and Inquisition, I don't remember about Origins, but it felt like I could feel the effort it took to, like, swing the sledgehammer was my weapon of choice.
I think because the combat systems are different in every game.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one being the first one to come out, and obviously, well, in my opinion, it's my favorite one. But obviously, every game has its flaws. To me, I felt the combat system in Origins was a bit too sluggish. And that might have just been down to the technology they had available at the time for that game with that company. It might have just been that. But basically what it ended up being was, first of all, to play as a mage in Origins felt so much like a chore, because it didn't feel like the magic was as strong as they wanted you to believe it was. And then with the others, I mean, it's definitely doable, and you can have fun with it. You need to get into it a little bit before you can properly feel comfortable with it, but you can definitely do it. But it was definitely a lot slower. It definitely gave off the impression that your character was actually trying to lift and wield this weapon.
Yeah.
Because of how slow it went. It wasn't really turn-based, but it reminded me of, like, what you would settle for if you were settling for a bit of turn-based and a bit of just all-out action.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Age 2 made me think of, like, the kind of, like, hack and slash combat that I would not find too out of place in, like, the major Batman games and God of War games.
Yeah, or like the what are they called? The Destiny Warrior games. If you've ever played those, yeah.
So like the fast, almost borderline flashy type of combat where it just feels like you're constantly moving, constantly attacking.
Hmm.
And then Inquisition was kind of like a mixture of them both, because it wanted you to rely more on the skills from the different skill trees.
Mm-hmm.
And the specializations. I found that with that one, my preferred combat style was a dual dagger rogue or a mage. And if I was going to do a mage, my specialization would always be knight enchanter, so that I could have a sword for close combat and then magic for ranged. And then my assassin would be the specialization I would have for the rogue, because it allows for more movement, but also more stealth than you would normally get.
I think whenever Dragon Age 4 comes out, because I've actually never played as a mage in any of the games, I probably should do that. But when it comes to Dragon Age 4, I guess my canon protagonist, I think I'm actually going to make a mage.
Your canon protagonist in Inquisition, was that?
He was the human noble.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, and he was, I forget if they called it differently, but he was the warrior class. For most of my playthroughs, I've just played as, like, a human, either rogues or warriors. Because I just like dealing damage. I mean, you could still do that with mage stuff, but I was kind of turned off by that in Origins.
I agree, because in Origins, the mage one felt a lot weaker. If you're going to use mage in Inquisition, you need to find out, obviously, like, which one best suits you. I didn't find much help from the spirit one, because I felt like, well, first of all, no one wants their protagonist to just be helpful on health and nothing else. So I didn't really use too much of the spirit one. I kind of gave some of those properties to, like, Solus, since you know, he already had some in the skill tree anyway.
Oh, yeah, this is random, but I just thought of this. Another place I'd like to see in Dragon Age 4 would have to be Antiva. Because, like, I've been curious ever since Zevran mentioned it in Origins, just what a sort of place like that would be like. Just to, like, travel around. And just the sort of NPCs you'll run into, especially in, like, a shady area such as Antiva.
There's a place that I would really like to see, but... Have you ever played Reckoning on the PlayStation 3?
I feel like I have.
It's one of those old RPGs where a lot of the newer ones still have it as well, to be completely fair. Fallout has it as well, you know, where you have like different factions to join. And Skyrim. I would really like somehow for there to be different factions that we could join, because I want to go check out the House of Repose.
Yes.
Because I really want to go check that out, because I'm just curious to see the difference between, you know, like a good faction of people that want to help, and then you go from there and you're like, I'm going to go over the road and see what's over here, and then you got the House of Repose, and, well, there's a wanted poster with Josie's head on the inside, just like, we can't, guys, we don't have the contract anymore. But I do want to check out, like, factions. I think that would be...
Yeah, that would be a really interesting mechanic, and the more I think about it, why haven't they introduced that before? Like, I feel like that would be...
Yeah, I mean, my only assumption is that the roles that they put you in the games is that you're in a position of power, and you're going to, like, whatever you do is going to affect Thedas at large. So I assume that the reason they haven't put it in is because... You know, if you go and join a good faction where you're not the one in the lead, but you join it, versus if you do that and then you join, like I said, somewhat like the House of Repose, they'll be like, oh, yes, the hero of Ferelden, who was also an assassin that killed innocent people, but saved us from the Blight. But to be fair, I think there would be ways that they could definitely work it in. Like, it's definitely not impossible.
Yeah.
But it depends on what role they want us to have in Dragon Age 4, because obviously from the events of Inquisition and obviously the other DLC you haven't yet played, it's obvious that we're building up to something huge.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't just be a random nobody, we know what to do with it.
Yeah, exactly.
You should have DLCs where you can just be somebody normal. Where it's not important to the story like they have been so far. They should just have, like, a DLC where you can be whoever you want. Like, you can be an elf, a dwarf, whatever. You pick where you're from and all that lark. And then you just go and you can, like, join different factions. And just every now and again you can, like, go to the pub or something and you can hear something about the hero of Ferelden or whatever and just be like, I'm glad I don't have that responsibility.
Yeah, just playing as some, like, dishwasher and it's like, wow.
Dishwashing minigame.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of commotion outside. I'm just gonna stay in here.
Yeah, and then, like, every now and again, little cameos of, like, Varric running across. Just like, wonder who that was.
Wow, he seems cool.
Yeah.
Never seen him again.
Oh my god, isn't he the author of Swords and Shields?
I gotta get his autograph.
Or you could then set up your world state so that your character, as you've designed them, could appear and just be like, who's this, Varric?
Man, that would be so great.
And you could reference it in future games. Well, I don't know. I mean, I met this one, like, elven dishwasher in Denerim, but...
So, in Origins, this is going way back, what did you ever do with the Templars, like, with the Mage Circle?
I freed the Templars, but I also didn't kill the innocent mages. I took the advice where you could, you had a substance that you could use when it looked like the mages were about to be forced to transform, and I used that to protect the mages and keep them in their actual form. And then we basically just got all the innocent ones out, and we got all the Templars out.
I just had to know, because when I was playing, I
You accidentally killed the mages, didn't you?
No, like, it kept prompting me. Like, oh, use the contract, use this. And I kept pressing the button to use it. But for some reason, it never happened. So I ended up killing them all and siding with the Templars. On accident. Like, I didn't ask for this, I don't like the Templars, but I guess the mages are dead, so no other choice.
Well, I didn't ask for this, but it happened anyway, so whatever.
Can't go back.
Yeah, well, you could, but...
Yeah. I technically could, but, like, I didn't, because laziness.
But Flowey knows what you did.
Wrong game.
I had to. I couldn't help it. There'll be some people that are out there listening to this and they'll be like, oh no, Undertale, quick, fast forward.
Man, that's a whole conversation for like a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. We probably shouldn't continue talking about it in the Dragon Age one or we're going to have a bad time. Anyway, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I did. I freed them all.
Oh, another thing I'd like to see in 4, like, I don't know how this would come up, but, like, if we could actually see Sven as the Arashok.
Oh my god, I thought you meant the animal in Frozen for a second, and I didn't know where we were going with that.
I mean, to Winters in the North, we could see a lot of caribou or something, but...
Seeing him as the Arashok, I don't think I can comment on that because of something from Trespasser.
Okay, don't say anything.
I don't think so, but maybe I shouldn't say anything.
Okay. To be honest, I really miss Sven, though. Because, like, if he was an option, I was seriously debating romancing him in Origins. But obviously, that's not an option.
Wait, what are you calling him?
What? Sven?
Isn't
that his name?
Sten?
Sten? Oh my god. That's embarrassing.
I was so confused for a second. I was like, wait a minute. Who's that again? No, it's Sten.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No worries. I mean, I'm just checking out. I'm doubting myself. Hang on a second. Yeah, it's Sten. Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, okay, moving on, yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is about his personality, but, like, my character really latched onto him, and I'm like, okay, if you can't romance this big, burly Quinari person, I'm gonna be upset. And then it never happened, and it's like, what the hell?
The interesting thing is when you compare Sten to the Iron Bull, because they're both from the same society that's been set up by the Qunari, because they're both under the Qun. But the difference being is that, like, the Iron Bull is aware of all of that, aware of his own, like, culture and everything under the Qun, but he's also aware of everything else as well, of the other cultures, which is why he's very, like, approachable, is because he's not going around preaching about the Qun and everything in the way it's done by the Arashok in the second game. So, because he understands different sides and everything, it's easier to communicate with him, it's easier to get more information from him about the Qun and everything, and he's also not just clinging to the views they've been told there, he's, like, open-minded enough to understand the differences, like, with everything else. So, like, the fact that, what was it, that Sten didn't understand why weaker characters would go up and fight with all their strength and everything, why they didn't just stick to their assigned roles and everything that they've been given since birth. And then but then Iron Bull's the complete opposite. He understands that that's not how things work everywhere. It's just that in the Qun, once you're born, you're given a role as soon as you're born. But Sten only knows the Qun, so he doesn't get it. And that's why I think they made it so interesting for him, is because it's the first game, so we're already still learning about everything. But the fact is that we know nothing about the Qun. And at first, some of his views seem very, oh, he's just being really rude and disrespectful. And then you learn, actually, okay, it's not necessarily that. It's just, this is all he's been told since birth. And now you're telling him that the world doesn't work that way and it works differently. And then him realizing that is part of the character's uniqueness, I think. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
But I do like the character. He can come out with some right funny stuff, especially when you hang out with, like, him and Shale.
Yes.
But Shale is the best. I love her.
Me too.
I can't believe she's only a DLC companion as well.
Yeah, like, I can't imagine a playthrough of Origins without Shale, to be honest.
Yeah, like, take notes, Sebastian. This is how you do it. This is how you be a DLC companion and make a impression. No, but it would be cool to see Sten as the Irish Hawk.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I just, like, killed the Irish Hawk whenever I played with my Hawk.
I think that's what I did. I can't really remember that part, actually. I think that's what I did. I can't remember what the options were with the Irish Hawk.
No matter what, you fight them, but you could give Isabella over, you could kill him, you could not kill him, but also not hand over Isabella. I don't remember exactly all the details with that.
Oh, no, wait. I don't think I killed him because I remember Varric saying in Inquisition that after the events of that, like, he was sent back to his homeland and he was stripped of his title because he was acting out of orders of the Qun. So he didn't die for me.
Oh, so no matter what, Sten does step into Played. Okay.
Yeah, there's always going to be, like, a way where he steps in, I believe.
Yeah, because that was my next question.
I mean, unless you leave him in the cage and you don't save him.
Obviously.
And he dies there. When you open the cage, regardless of what you do with him, as long as he stays alive, he'll step in and take the Irish Hawk ruling at some point.
Interesting.
Butterfly effect.
It is interesting to see how certain narratives, like, weave into place.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I don't like narratives where, like, the butterfly effect doesn't matter, yeah. I still like seeing how they, like, sort of fix that in a way.
I agree.
Oh, another thing, is it bad? Like, I kind of want to see a whole separate game playing as one of Bull's Chargers.
Absolutely not, because the Mage Killer comic that I mentioned earlier, there's a part in it where Dorian and the Chargers are going off doing their own thing.
Oh, sweet.
Where they're not with the Iron Bull, they're going and doing a job for the Inquisitor, but basically it leads to the assumption that the Chargers can just, well, we already know they can go off on their own anyway, but they also go off with some of the other companions. It'd be cool if you got to have a DLC where you made your own character to join the Chargers as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, because I know we don't really see much of them in Inquisition, but I love all of those characters.
Yeah, I love them too.
And I do think it was really cool how each of them kind of embodied the 6 origin stories from Dragon Age Origins.
Oh, yeah. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, like, hold on, I'm gonna look it up. Like, there's the Dalish archer who's, like, technically not a mage, but she's totally a mage.
I'm not a mage! It's an aiming crystal!
Mm-hmm. There's Skitter the City Elf, Rocky the Dwarf from Ozamar.
Rocky. I like it.
Stitches, the company healer and surgeon.
That's funny.
Grim, a reserved man who only speaks in grunts.
And
then there's obviously Krem and Iron Bull.
Yeah, Krem's awesome.
Krem is awesome. I was a little salty, though, how you could only interact with Krem with, like, the stereotypical demeanor people have with, like, transgender people.
Yeah. I mean, the intention of putting them in was probably for those players who maybe did have those questions and wanted genuine answers, and I'm impressed that they did, that the way that Iron Bull answered them, very respectful, very easy to understand if there was maybe a person who still couldn't grasp their head around it for some reason. I mean, your Inquisitor could be a bit politer.
Yeah.
Because the questions are a bit blunt and a bit out of nowhere.
A bit more respectful, but at the same time, with Iron Bull there, it certainly did help.
Yeah, definitely. And Krem is, like, an astounding character. I mean, he's not there in it a lot in the main game. I mean, obviously he is. You can go talk to him and stuff, but as far as cutscene moments go,
Mm-hmm.
Not in it too much. They're in it in Trespasser. Not going to talk too much about Trespasser, obviously. But no, I do hope that CRED would come back for Dragon Age 4 because the character's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, and a lot of love in the fan base, too.
Yeah, a lot of love. You know, there's something I'm suspicious of in Inquisition.
Ooh, what?
So now that we know that Solus is basically the Dread Wolf,
Mm-hmm.
the thing I'm suspicious of is the artifacts that are littered around the world that he told us is going to strengthen the veil when we access it using the powers that we got from the orb.
Yeah.
And now it just makes me wonder whether that is actually what his intention was because he realised he messed up, or if it was for some other purpose.
Honestly, I think it would be for something else. I don't know what entirely.
Mm.
Hopefully they touch on that in Dragon Age 4. Is there anything else, like, major that we haven't touched on?
Talked about all the different games, the mechanisms, the developments, the characters.
I feel like we got a good grasp on everything.
I feel like you're going to be editing for a while.
Nah, not too much. It's a lot easier editing, like, just strictly audio. Oh, I do have a question about Dragon Age 2. When it came to the deep roads, like, what option did you decide first? Like, did you bring your sibling along with you? Did you leave them?
Oh, can I remember? That was a long time ago. Hang on. What did I do? I at first I went through it where I had Bethany alive.
Okay.
I was very protective of that character. So even though I wanted her to come with me, I was a bit nervous because of how the mum kept going, "You don't know what could happen in there." So I ended up leaving Bethany behind and took my other mages with me. And then when I came back up, she'd been taken to the circle.
Oh.
To be fair, I think she's happier in the circle because she's one of the lucky ones who didn't get treated badly. She's actually been teaching the children in the circle.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good option for her.
Yeah, and then she came back for the Mage versus Templar War. So the first time around I did that, and then the next time around, when I went down as a mage, I took Carver with me because I was curious. And out of the two, I like Bethany more, so I thought I'll take Carver down and risk it for a biscuit and see what happens. So I took Carver with me, and then the Blight got to him, and I was like, right, well, I have Anders with me, so I could either take him to do the joining and possibly turn him into a Grey Warden, or I could let him die. So I turned him into a Grey Warden, and he basically hated me till the end of time because of that. Because it was an option that he didn't get a choice in, and he didn't want it.
Yeah.
I find that Carver's best fate is if you make him, if you don't take him with you and he becomes a Templar, because he starts to figure out more about himself. He feels like he's following in his father's footsteps. It's a choice he made and he's proud of, and if you do end up siding with the mages, which obviously you would because you're a mage, you're not going to be a mage against Templars. A mage against mages either. So when he shows up for the Mage versus Templar war and everything, he comes to your side over Meredith's. So I think Templar's best option for him. And I don't know about Bethany and the Wardens because I haven't taken Bethany down yet. So I don't know what happens with her.
Yeah, like, to be honest, when I was playing through it, when it came to for the option for Bethany to come with us, I accidentally spoiled myself. I was looking up different options, and I accidentally read too, like, far into it. So I already knew that, whatever sibling you had a choice of, like, dying. But I ended up taking her anyways, just because with my Hawk, he was very into her, like, being her own person, so, like, if she wanted to come, then she could.
Mm.
And then I ended up killing her off.
Yeah! Bye, sis!
Just cause, like, I didn't want her to suffer the nightmares and stuff going into being a warden.
Because obviously we know what it was like to have a character be a warden, because that was our first character in the series. So that was problematic in Origins when I was like, oh, I like this Duncan, he's pretty cool. And then when that man who was like, I didn't know this is what I had to do to be a warden, I'm going back, my wife's expecting a child, I'm not going to leave her, and then Duncan just killed him because he knew about the joining now, and that was information that couldn't get out. But then in Inquisition, the Inquisitor and Blackwall openly talk about the joining, even though neither of them have actually even taken it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, okay.
Sorry, dude. I forgot your name.
See, that's the thing, that's the problem, we don't even remember his name either. Damn it, Duncan. So, like, after that, my warden deeply distrusted Duncan, and then when Duncan was killed, I had it headcanon that my character felt very bad, because there was, like, Alistair going, he was like a father figure to me, and he was such a nice guy, and my warden was over there going, he killed my friend, I hate him.
Right in front of me, too.
Right in front of me, with no warning at all.
So, with each of the games, what would have to be your favorite companion?
Oh, dear.
Yeah, that's right. We're delving into this.
Wait, favourite from each game or favourite from all of the games?
It could be both. Like, do each of the games and then, like, your ultimate favorite.
Okay. For Origins, I don't really even need to think about it. Shale. It's no contest.
Shale is Bay, Shay is life.
Yeah. Dragon Age 2, Aveline.
She's pretty good. I really like her.
Yeah, I mean, I like Fenris the character as a lot because English, Becky, come on. I like Fenris a lot as a character because I find him very interesting, but like I feel like if I'd have got to hang out with Aveline a bit more because I love what's already there for her as a character.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if there was even more, then I would love her even more. And Inquisition, that's mean. It's a tie in Inquisition. Cole. Yeah. It was going to be a tie between like Dorian and Cole. I'm going to go with Cole for that one. And then my overall favourite, bearing everything in mind and not just focusing on one game, Liliana. But I can't say that like in a singular game she's my favourite in that. But if I compare all of the games and the progression, then probably her. That was hard trying to choose. It was like trying to choose between children. How could you do that to me?
Yeah, can't pick a favorite.
What about you?
In Origins? Man, this is tough.
Yeah, see?
No, because I'm trying to think, and I was gonna go with Shale, but now I'm thinking of the others, and it's like, but my children.
It was easy to pick Shell for me in Origins, because I just love that one, like, so much more than everybody else.
Honestly, it'd have to be a tie between... I'm gonna have to say Shale and Alistair. Just because Alistair is so charismatic. I'm still salty, like, you can't romance him as a dude.
The option was going to be in there, but it got removed. I can't remember why.
But I remember going through Origins, like, thinking Alistair was the gay option, only to find out it was Zevran, like, towards the end. Like, when you meet him and stuff.
Oh, I forgot about him.
You forgot about Zevran?
I haven't played Origins in a really long time. And that's bad. He was the first one I romanced in the game as well. Whoops.
Yeah, I don't blame you, though. Like, even though he's great, he's not, like, my fave. I just like how he was sent to kill you and then just ends up joining you, like, oh.
Yeah.
This is where I live now.
It's like, well, I might as well. If I go back, they're going to kill me anyway, so might as well. Might even get a girlfriend or boyfriend out of it, so we'll see. What about Dragon Age 2?
Dragon Age 2, hands down, Fenris.
Fenris is a good character.
Fenris, like, with all of his subtlety and intimate moments, I fell so hard for him.
The first time you got the brooding elf to laugh, just like, whoa.
I know, like, my heart was racing after that.
Yeah.
Like, what? That was possible?
Then Inquisition?
Inquisition. Ooh. I'm thinking. This is hard. This is a lot harder than Origins.
I think Prem would have had the opportunity to become one of my favourites if we'd have been able to see him a bit more, because he wasn't in it for very much.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be... Oh, in Dragon Age 4, if Krem's in there and we can't romance him, I'd be so salty. Like, I understand, because Krem's trans, like, there's some things that have to, like, work out, and, like, things to be brought up in a romance like that. That would kind of make things difficult, but not in, like, a bad way.
Yeah, I do have things I could say to that, but again, it's something that I know about that's happened in the series, but it's something you've not reached yet in the series, so I don't want to spoil it for you.
Okay. I'm just gonna say this and correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Does he get together with someone else? Is that what you're talking about?
Do you want me to answer that?
I'm just saying because I've seen fan art with him and I forget her name.
The bard from the little pub on Skyhold's grounds. What it is if Cole's been made more spirit-like, then he'll notice that both she and Krem have feelings for each other, and he'll get them talking, and they enter a relationship. But if he's made more human, Cole goes out with her instead.
Oh, good for Cole.
So yeah, Krem does have a romance in one of the possible futures. And they made a really funny joke. You know, because Krem keeps glitching out and standing on the chair whenever you enter the pub.
Yes.
They made a joke out of it where, like, the bard's talking to him and she says, yes, I see you all the time, listening when I'm playing my songs there. And then he says, yes, I love them. Sometimes I even stand up on my chair just to get a better look at your songs. And it's so funny.
Honestly, I think if I had to pick a favorite in Inquisition, it would probably have to be Iron Bull. Yeah, because I'm trying to think, because I did like Sarah, but like from what I heard from her romance, some of her ideals, I'm not really into.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember I've told you this already, when I went to a Comic-Con and met the voice actor who plays Solus. And I remember saying to him, like, you know, if you were going to play the games, like, which romance option would you go for, just out of curiosity? And, like, in a second, he just went, Iron Bull, hands down. What about overall?
Oh, I didn't even say overall. Again, hands down Fenris, just because I'm so attached to him.
There are a lot of good characters.
So many good characters. Do you have any, like, least favorites? Not to, like, stir the pot or anything.
Ooh, let's get some fans really annoyed at us.
Alright.
I'm kidding. In Origins, let me think. Like, out of the companions you can have in your party and such.
Yes.
Yeah. Because obviously, otherwise we would just go with the villains, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Can I... Ogren.
I'd have to agree with you. Like,
yeah.
He seems pretty unnecessary, to be honest.
Yeah. Not a fan of Ogren. At all. Just because, like, I don't know, I'm kind of over the character who's always drinking and belching and just trying to be a smart ass all the time and not really contributing much to it.
Yeah. It's like, hey, let's take all the dwarven stereotypes and put them in one character.
It's not to say that, like, I hate the character, because I definitely don't hate him, but I could just as easily play the game and pretend he's not there.
Yeah, exactly.
Then Dragon Age 2, Anders, obviously.
Yeah, I think we've discussed well enough why we don't like Anders.
Yeah, we don't need to judge all that up again. And then Inquisition, Blackwall. I mean, I just can't. I found the character boring the first time around anyway. And then I thought, oh, well, people keep going on about him, so made a character to romance him with to see if I'd get more information from him. Then I found out that he's not Blackwall, he's a murderer called Tom Rainier. And then when I was like, right, okay, I'll bring him back because I need a fighter for the Inquisition. But, you know, after that, I'm sending him to the Wardens, and the Wardens can do what they want. They can decide whether or not to take him on in their ranks. They can decide whether or not to exile him or whatever. They can make the decision because it's their banner, really, that he was disgracing by pretending to be the deceased Blackwall. And then, you know, as soon as I get him back in the Inquisition again, he turns around and says, maybe you could still call me Blackwall, and we could use it as a title, like how your title is Inquisitor. And that just left a really bad taste in my mouth, because I'm like, no, you're not disgracing this good man's name any further by just pretending it's a title now.
Yeah, like, let's just make this, like, a fun, happy time, and killing people, we can just pretend that never happened.
Yeah, and then he, like, gets mad at you if you say that you're not going to call him Blackwall anymore. And it's like, I'm sorry, but you don't get to take no moral high ground with me. You've been lying to everyone here so far. I'm actually surprised that... Oh, no, I'm not surprised, because they said that Liliana has a soft spot for Warden, so she didn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember my Inquisitor being very mad with Liliana when that happened. Like, she forgave her, but she was very mad.
Okay, as for my least favorites, I'd have to agree with Oghren with you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just over-the-top dwarven stereotype, not my fave.
Yeah, no.
Least favorite for 2... If it wasn't Anders is his own category. I'd honestly have to say Isabella.
Same, actually, because, again, if we weren't, like you said, if Anders was, you know, his own special little category, I would have said Isabella too, just because it made me really mad how she lied to everyone the whole game, because you gotta think, the whole game is actually just not like a few days or a few weeks, it takes place over like 9 years.
Yeah, exactly. And with me, I just said, like, whatever. If you're gonna be like this, then just leave the group, and just didn't mess with her the rest of the game.
Yeah, and then you find out, like, what she's been lying to you about, and then if your friendship thing is, like, just below half or whatever, she takes the holy text that she had, and she just leaves, and she doesn't come back. Like, she only comes back if, like, you're friends with her, and I know, and I get that, but I was still really annoyed that she just lied to the character's face when she said she was going to help, and then straight up betrays you by just leaving, because she's the reason for the Arashok creating all that problem that was just them being in Kirkwall for so many years. They wouldn't have been there if she hadn't stolen their holy text and gone there.
It's like, geez, what a coward. Yeah, as for my least favorite in Inquisition, I think I also have to agree with you with Blackwall. There was a brief moment where I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but then after some thought, it's like, yeah, that's pretty unforgivable. I'm just going to leave you in jail.
Yeah, I tried, and I can't like the character. I tried to like the character, and I just couldn't.
Well, I know you got dinner and stuff happening, so... In case you can't see, Becky's just, like, chewing and giving me a thumbs up. But yeah, it was so nice to get to talk to Dragon Age, like, in-depth with you.
Oh, it was very in-depth, yeah.
Yeah, because there's, like, so much deep stuff you could, like, go into, like, not even in individual games, but with individual acts within these games.
Oh, we're gonna have a lot to talk about if you get through Trespasser.
Yeah, we might do, like, a whole nother podcast episode just on Trespasser.
Yeah. Again, everybody, these are the opinions of us. You are entitled to your own opinion, and we respect your opinions.
Yes, all this comes from respect, and if you like Anders, it's fine. We're cool. We're good, fam.
We good. I mean, Anders isn't in my playthrough, but we good.
Yeah, not just Anders, but like anything else we may have mentioned here. Hopefully they don't let us down too much with Dragon Age 4.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully they announce something a bit more concrete than just saying, we're working on it.
Damn it, how long are you gonna work on it?
When did you start? When will you stop? Time is important. You are a clock. My username on YouTube is BioWoman.
I'm Spacey Ghost. I'm pretty much everywhere. Tumblr, Instagram, what have you as Spacey Ghost.
Thank you for having me on. This was fun.
Yeah. It was really fun, and I hope we have a few other collabs together.
Yeah, and I will see you on your next stream as well.
Yeah.
In the comments. I'm not going to be in the...
That would be a an achievement to have.
Yeah. Because we're in, like, completely separate countries, so... I will be in the comments with all the memes.
So, yeah, thank you, everyone, for listening to us just ramble on about Dragon Age.
Yeah.
And I'll see you guys sometime in the future.
Bye!
Bye!